Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait for you guys to tune in. As you come in, just put in my phone number in here. Welcome. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Good morning. And hi to the ladies at the airport and the Atlanta airport that saw me yesterday at the airport and said hi. Giving you all a shout out. Okay, so my number is in here. Let me pin that. How's everyone doing? Welcome, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Welcome. If this is your first time joining, hello. My name is 𝐤𝐸𝐸, so I'm an immigration attorney out in Atlanta, Georgia. I represent clients all over the United States with their family immigration matter, humanitarian-based cases, removal, and we also handle, detention work. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, call us 678-325-1037 or 678-233-2170. The number is obviously on our profile on Facebook and YouTube and on Instagram. It is in the pinned right there. You can also check our profile. The information is also there. You can also book a consultation yourself directly on there. So I want to talk about a topic today, but before I get into the topic, let me just cover a few updates. As I say, whenever I hear happening as it relates to my audience, I like to definitely keep you guys informed. A few people, had posted. And first of all, before I continue, I want to shout out this person. I just saw them, F.A. Dexter. Thank you, F.A. Dexter, because I see you being a Voltron for us all the time online, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate people that actually know what we do, that comment versus negative Nancy's that come on there and just make negative comments for no reason, or just don't want people to know what their options are, or say, we're saying something without reading, all the information that is on there. So shout out to you, this morning. But yes, so we are starting to see, I haven't gone through today's mails actually. So probably after I go through today's mails, I'll see if there's anyone from any of the 39 countries. But we have started to see approvals on work permits for clients from the 39 countries. So we've seen from Nigeria. That's the only one I always remember off the top of my head, just because, obviously I'm Nigerian, so I will always remember that. I will have my team just compile a list of some of the other countries that we're seeing from. I will see if any of those green cards for any of the 39 countries have started to come in, but work permits definitely have started. So again, if you are one of those who's waiting for that, or you've had an interview for your case and they haven't made a decision, this is a good time to seek congressional assistance. This is a good time to do an outreach. For example, I had posted last week about the work permit that we got approved for a Nigerian client. But that approval, what happened was on the 22nd of June, we reached out to Vermont, which is the division that handles, I sent a formal email asking why there was still this delay with the person's work permit. And 2 days later, the work permit was approved. Is it a coincidence? Probably not, because I put it as urgent, in the email subject. That said, sometimes that works where, depending on the case type, you can reach out directly via email, like in a VAWA or like a T visa case or U visa case, where we have a dedicated attorney email hotline. But in a generic case, we're obviously going to have to first of all try through Ask Emma or with those phone reps who right now are literally, I don't even know what they're doing, because they are given such misinformation. It's actually scary. It's actually really scary. Where people, anyway, let me digress. So let me move on to something else. But basically, either Ask Emma or seeking congressional assistance. Seeking congressional assistance. Congressional assistance doesn't make sense for you if you're still in a normal processing time. You need to be out of processing time to do it, or your interview had to have happened and it's been 90 days and you still haven't heard anything. If that is the case, then I would say definitely let's do this reach out. And the reason why you want to do this reach out now and time being of the essence is, as you guys can see, things move like this, and then like this, like this, like this. In that today you're qualified for this, tomorrow the next court says no, the next court says yes, the next court says no. So we really need you really need to move when there's a window open for you for whatever it is that you have viable, whether that's a case, whatever it is, so. And then, of course, unfortunate news for TPS holders from Haiti, Syria. I truly hope that most people that had TPS with this whole trial thing that had been happening since last year, that most people have kind of, hopefully maybe there's a viable path for them, or maybe they're eligible for asylum. Personally, I don't handle asylum, but hopefully they're eligible for asylum. They filed for asylum. This is one of those things, again, when something you're eligible for, you need to lock in. You need to lock in just so that if something, happens and you're in there, or there's a non or a retroactive option for you, you can stay in. For those people, the current secretary, has basically said, find a path to a green card, or, we'll be deporting them, or I guess you'd be going through removal proceedings, really to determine if there's any other viability. Sometimes there are other viabilities in removal proceedings. Maybe if you've been here for up to 10 years, you've never had any crimes of moral turpitude, you have qualifying relatives, and you can show you experience extreme or extraordinary hardship, honestly, which I believe is most people from Haiti. I mean, even for goodness sake, Haiti is a level 4 country. It's a level 4 country where they basically tell people, you need to have all your emergency contact, prepare your will, and all of that stuff, if you plan to go there, because it's not safe. I mean, it's so unsafe that they're not even processing cases in Haiti. Like the embassy, most of our clients have to go to a different embassy, for Bahamas or wherever, just because it is not safe. But in addition to that, for a lot of people who are here because they came here legally through either the Biden program, or via TPS, most people, they don't have anything to go back for. Like, meaning they've sold their homes, they've sold their homes, or wherever they were renting or whatever it is, it's no longer there. They don't have jobs. So to ask people who have stable jobs here, a stable life here, just uproot your life and just let's throw you in a country that's experiencing level 4 safety, go figure out how to find a job and to survive. That is extreme hardship. So there are cases that you can make, arguments, that can be made should you have to be deported, which truly is unfortunate that you even have to go through that, because that is something to me that, the Supreme Court should have considered. So it's not so much as though the president can, whatever it is that you're saying, they can decide when to terminate TPS or not. But the thing is, there's such a thing as humanity and dignity, right? Because at the end of the day, these people came here legally, or these people are here legally by a program that the United States provided, regardless of whether it's this administration, the last administration, 2 administrations ago. That's the point, is they were here legally. And to just terminate it without giving them a way to figure out, like saying you give them $2,000 to help them self-deport, how is that going to help somebody survive? Like, how's that going to help someone survive? Anyway, like going off on a tangent there, but hopefully, for those people, you meet a consultant, an attorney, just to see if you might, there's so many different paths to be legal in the United States, other than like marriage, for instance, that you meet and evaluate different things to see what you might be eligible for, and so when someone says, oh, well, what's the point of them meeting with a lawyer? They've canceled TPS. They're just wasting their money scheduled consultation. For many of those people, there are paths. I literally just named 2 paths right now. So without knowing the person, it's hard to say. Like when you speak to someone, or when a lawyer speaks to someone, the lawyer should kind of be going through all the different legal avenues based on their current status. Like, are they still in active TPS? Were they out of status? Were they like in removal and then went into TPS? Or were they not in removal? Did they come with the Biden program and they've never violated any of their status? So there are many things to explore to determine if you're eligible. And that's why I continue to say, if you're eligible for something, apply. If the window opens in the lawsuit, you need to be reaching out like there's no tomorrow. Like, if you've ever heard, they say closed mouths don't get fed. Reach out to USCIS, like reach out to USCIS, reach out to your congressman, reach out to your senator to get a decision on your case, okay? And then the third thing I wanted to talk about, which I forgot, so I'm going to go right into my, the point of this post, because I can't remember what it was I wanted to talk about right now. But I want to talk about derivatives filing for, like for those filing for VAWA cases, like if you're filing a spousal case based on VAWA. A quick recap, again, VAWA is for those who are, one second, guys. I'm getting all these messages. I didn't put my thing on DND, so it's really distracting. VAWA is for those who are victims of abuse by U.S. citizen or LPR family member. The family members will typically be a spouse, a parent, or a child. This particular topic today that I'm talking about is going to be for spouses who are filing for a VAWA self-petition because they have been abused by their U.S. citizen or LPR. LPR is for green card holders. LPR means a green card holder. It also means legal permanent residence, for those of you who don't know. So typically when you file for VAWA, if you have any children, whether or not those children live in the United States or not, as long as those children are under 21, number one, and they're unmarried, those children automatically become your derivative beneficiaries in your VAWA application. What is a derivative beneficiary? It means that if USCIS approves your VAWA, they will also approve the children's VAWA. So whether they're here in the United States or whether they're outside of the country, the process to finish is different, which I'll get into, but they will approve this. So this is very different in a marriage-based case where if they approve your marriage-based case, they're not approving your kids just because they approved your marriage-based case. Your kids have to file an I-130, and those kids have to have been stepchildren to the spouse before those children turned 18. So it's very different. So note the difference here. The difference here is that you don't need to submit a separate I-360, for the child, as long as the child was under 21 at the time you filed. One of the questions that people ask is that, okay, let's say I file and my child is listed as a derivative. The child, obviously we know that right now VAWA has taken a long time. These cases are taking 4 years. And, what was I going to say? And the child is no longer 21. The child is now like 23 or 24 when they make a decision. How does that impact the child? So in a VAWA case, they preserve their age at the time of filing, meaning they will always remain an immediate relative eligible for adjustment of status. So for instance, let me give you two simple scenarios. If that child is here in the United States and you file for them and they're maybe like 20, and so they're obviously listed as your derivative, and you never just filed an adjustment of status. An adjustment of status, again, for those who don't know, it's an I-485. And then your stuff gets approved. The child is now, let's say, 23. Sometimes people ask, well, so now do I have to go to the visa bulletin and wait for the visa bulletin to be available to file an adjustment of status? The answer is no, because filing for VAWA preserves the derivative's age at the time of filing. So you can file your adjustment of status immediately, meaning they can file for a green card immediately. They can apply for work permit immediately, and social security number immediately. If the child is outside of the United States, the same applies. They are immediate relatives. But of course, consular processing takes a longer time than if you were doing an adjustment of status. So typically, what needs to be done is that an I-824 needs to be filed. So in the past, when we submit VAWA application, we would recommend our clients to submit the I-824 at the same time that they're submitting their VAWA, their I-485, so that once they approve the mother or the father, they can then transfer the file to the consulate so that they can make a decision then. But we have started to see that USCIS is kind of pushing back on the I-244 saying, well, they've not made it, like they'll send an RFE saying they've not made a decision. I will keep you guys updated because, you know, with this last RFE that we got about that, you know, we asked for an abeyance on, meaning like we asked them to continue the decision, that we're not asking them to make an I-244 decision right now. We're asking them to make that decision when the case is approved. So we'll see. But otherwise, you can just file your I-244 once your VAWA, you know, is approved. Well, really, when your green card is approved, but, you know, obviously it means that it takes a little longer. But as I see the trends, you know, I'll let you guys know. You know, what was I going to say? So yeah, so with the kids, you know, when you get your prima facie determination letter, your kids should be listed. USCIS is notorious for skipping the kids. So if you get your prima facie and you've listed kids that are under 21 that are not on the list, you want to reach out to USCIS to fix that, because sometimes if they don't fix that, when they do the decision, your 360, they may also skip them. You know, granted, they will amend it once you provide proof that those children were originally listed in the I-360 application. You know, but it's annoying, you know, to wait a couple of months and have to amend something that they should have done in the first place. So the first place to check when you get your prima facie is if your children are not there, you want to amend it. If your VAWA case has not been decided and you didn't list your children, you should be amending to list your children. First of all, I think it's crazy, like when people don't list their children in the applications. It's crazy because it literally asks for you to list your children. Like, why put yourself and your children in that situation by not listing your children? I say, well, you know, I wasn't filing for them. They're not here, so I don't need to list them. List your children. And, you know, this is different if you are filing for VAWA as a parent, by the way. If you're filing for a VAWA as a parent, parents cannot pass VAWA benefits to their children. So even if you list your children on the application, they're not going to receive immigration benefits from you. So it's not the same thing as, you know, if you were filing as a spouse. And another important point is that if you have a child after your VAWA is approved, you may still be able to add that child later when you apply for immigrant visa or a green card, depending on, you know, where you are when you're filing. Like, you don't have to file a brand new VAWA application. Let me give an example where a scenario like that might occur. Like, for instance, we have clients, for example, you know, that are from other parts of the world, that live in other parts of the world that we've submitted VAWA applications for. And those people are eligible for VAWA because, i.e., either the abuse took place here before they moved back, or the spouses usually work for the U.S. military or the U.S. government outside of the country. So in those cases, if they have those children or whatever it is, like even if the child is not for the abuser, let's say you know, divorce the abuser and you have another child, that child would be eligible, you know, under your VAWA as well. Okay. And then one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'll answer questions, is that, you know, while we've not seen this happen to any of our clients, because we truly try our best to assess risk before we ask people to travel, there is this rumor going through the grapevine in the legal community where a lot of people are saying that they're seeing some of their VAWA clients, especially those who are male, you know, being stopped from re-entry once they travel on an advanced parole. Again, this, you know, I really hate to be a rumor mill or whatever it is, unless I've seen that as a trend within my own practice. But if I were you and you submitted a VAWA, because that is something that is easily avoidable, there's no harm in that, I would just say that don't make any international trips right now until we have more clarity on this. You know, like, for those of you who email us all the time, you know, there's sometimes we tell people don't travel and they say, well, I know you're saying that, but I'm still going to travel. What do you think? And I say, my answer still remains the same. Don't travel. But at the end of the day, everybody's an adult. You know, you can do what you want to do. But I just want it on record that I said don't travel, you know. So if you fall under that, it is a risky time. You know, it seems. Again, don't be angry at the messenger, because I'm sure I'm going to get some emails with some upset clients saying, well, what's the point of having a travel permit if we can't travel? I'm just telling you, this is what I'm hearing through the grapevine. This is what some people are saying is happening to their clients. It hasn't happened to any of our clients, but again, if it's not, if you can hold off an international trip, maybe you should hold off the international trip. Okay. All right. So let me answer some questions from you guys. Good morning. Bankomalanko, I can't even pronounce it. When is the best time to speak to your attorney, Aisha? The best time to speak to me, Deborah Young, is when you schedule a consultation. So feel free to schedule a consultation, 678-325-1037. You can schedule a consultation with myself or any of the attorneys that work at my firm. Again, like, everybody is capable of scheduling of speaking to you and evaluating your case. These are all licensed lawyers or lawyers that have been licensed in multiple states, and some of them have even been licensed longer than me. So you should be able to speak to them to evaluate your case. Ultimately, every case that goes out here, we have a two attorney review process where we have our first attorney reviewing and I'm reviewing as well. So regardless of who does your consultation, any case being submitted to USCIS, I will still review your case before we submit the case. Unless I'm extremely sick and it's just like, another attorney, like reviewing it and stuff like that. But almost all the time, and God forbid, I'll never be extremely sick, but generally, I review almost all the cases. I can count like maybe with my hands if I didn't have the opportunity to review something. You can feel free to schedule with them. Okay, so let me see what other questions we have here before I jump off. Amanda Koga says, I just got my interview notice for July. When do you advise I start preparing? Start preparing now. I don't know what your interview is because I don't know what your case type is. If you have a marriage-based case, you definitely want to start preparing evidence of good faith marriage. So even though you submitted your case with maybe you submitted evidence, you want to definitely make sure that you have new evidence. You want to make sure that you have new evidence that you're submitting. Towards a few days before your interview, USCIS now is sending emails to clients and to the attorneys to say, go online and upload that new evidence of good faith marriage. Also, you want to prepare for the interviews. You want to prepare how well you and your spouse know each other. I don't care how long you've been married. I don't care how many kids you've been married. Humans are humans. We forget things, things that you don't think that are important, but USCIS asks. So it is important to prepare and be able to answer those questions. Something as simple as knowing each other's cell phone numbers. It is shocking to me how many people don't know their spouse's cell phone numbers. I understand that, we are in a world where, you can just save someone's name as hubby, babe, whatever it is on your phone and just type that in there. But outside of immigration, you should know your spouse's phone number. If you are in an emergency, what if your phone got lost? What if they stole your phone? What if they broke it? Like something happened to your phone. You should be able to know your spouse's number so that you can make a call, in an emergency situation. Okay. Nee is asking, how long does it take USCIS to respond to expedited cases? It depends on the case. There is no published timeline for expedited requests. Sometimes they don't respond at all, and sometimes they respond relatively quickly to say we're denying it, or sometimes they respond and they say they're approving. So without knowing what exactly you're requesting expedited, it's hard to answer. Teta says, good morning. Thanks for everything you do. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐦𝐞𝐧𝐭 says, good morning, Aisha. Once again, thank you. Hope you and yours are doing well. Yes, we are. Thank you so much. My kids are out of town. I had to fly to go drop them, at an academic camp yesterday and flew back again last night. So I'm very, very tired. I was at the airport at like 5 a.m. and I was back here at nighttime after I helped them unpack and get sorted. So, life is very busy, but, we do what we need to do. Are lawyers allowed to join the interview virtually? Lawyers are no longer allowed to attend interviews virtually. There are extraordinary circumstances in the cases of asylum, but it's still very vague. They just actually last week said that we'll allow in extraordinary circumstances and for asylum, but generally you should have your lawyer plan to attend in person. One of the things that I say to people is that, sorry, the lawnmower is like mowing the lawn outside, so it's so loud. One of the things I say to people is that, whether your lawyer is attending your interview or not, you have to be prepared for your interview. You are the one that has to answer questions about your marriage. And once you're able to do that and able to answer those questions, you can go in feeling nervous. And how do you do that? That's you prepare. If you're working with a law firm, your law firm should be preparing you for the interview. You know what to expect from the time you enter in there. They should be able to tell you, you know, you're going to go in here. They're going to give you a ticket. You know, you sit down, you wait. You know, you're going to be asked to raise your right hand and swear. They're going to go over your I-130. Let's go over the questions. Make sure all the answers make sense. Go over your 485. Let's go over your good faith marriage, and then preparing for a Stokes interview. You know, personally, I feel that everyone attending an interview should always be prepared for a Stokes interview. If you don't end up getting a Stokes interview, great. But a Stokes interview is a great way to overstudy for a test. You know, if you had a test, you will prepare for the test, right? Even if your parent is dropping you in school, or even if your teacher is there to answer questions like during office hours, they still expect you to take that test. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for the interview. Okay. Oh, I gotta jump off, guys. Okay. I gotta jump off, guys. Anyone asking me about the band stuff again? Go back to I see a question on that. Watch this from the beginning. I talked about what you should be doing if you are in the United States and the pause has been lifted, and trying to get some decisions in your case, since we're seeing that happening right now. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will be back on live tomorrow at 10 a.m. And I will see you guys then. Bye.